I told my sister I'll feed her kids what they'll actually eat, or she can choose not to come. Ever since I was a child, I loved the way food brought people together. There was something warm and comforting about sitting around a big table with family, laughter in the air, and the smell of a good meal wrapping around us like a soft blanket. Now that I am 28 years old and living on my own, I have taken that childhood love and turned it into a real tradition. Once a month, sometimes even more, I host family dinners at my home. I cook, I set the table, and I invite everyone over. My parents, my sister and her children, my cousins, anyone who is free and wants to come is always welcome. I enjoy the buzz of a full house, the clinking of plates, and the happy chaos that only family can bring. My sister Leela is the oldest in our family. She is 39 years old and a mother to 4 children. Her kids are a lively bunch, full of energy and curiosity. 2 of them, her second and youngest, are happy eaters. They will try just about anything and usually finish their plates with a smile. But the other 2, her oldest Max, who is 9, and her third child, Sophie, who is 6, are very different when it comes to food. They are what most people call picky eaters, but honestly, that does not even begin to explain it. Max and Sophie have a very small list of foods they are willing to eat, and anything outside that list is met with tight lips, turned heads, and sometimes tears. Leela believes very strongly that picky eating is something that can be corrected. She says that if a child refuses to eat, they will eventually give in if the adults do not give them other options. She thinks that offering special meals just for picky eaters is the same as giving in, and she refuses to do that at home. That might work in her house, but my house is different. From the very first time she brought the kids over to one of my dinners, I made my stance clear: I will not let a child go hungry in my home. I told her gently but firmly that if Max and Sophie needed something different, I would make it. I would not argue with them or pressure them. I would simply feed them food they liked. At first, Leela seemed to accept this. She did not like it, but she came anyway. The problem was, after each dinner, she would complain. She said I was undermining her parenting, that I was making her look weak, and that I should not give her children anything unless it was the same thing everyone else was eating. I listened, I really did. I know parenting is hard, and I do not want to step on her toes, but this is not about trying to raise her kids for her. This is about kindness. This is about making sure every child at my table feels welcome and full. It does not feel right to me to let 2 kids sit there hungry while the rest of us enjoy our meal, so I kept cooking for Max and Sophie. I do not go out of my way to make complicated dishes. I have found a few meals that they both enjoy, and I rotate between them. Things like soupy chicken, fried rice with soft veggies, red pasta with a side of fruit salad, and baked potatoes stuffed with gentle chicken and cheese. Simple meals, but they eat them happily. Sometimes I make the same meal for everyone. Other times, I cook something different for the adults and the kids who are not picky, while giving Max and Sophie something from their safe list. I always make enough so no one feels left out, and I never make a big deal out of it. I just serve the food and let everyone eat in peace. Still, Leela complains. She says I am not showing her respect. She says I should not do things with her children that she would not do. She even told me that because I am not a parent, I cannot understand what she is going through. That part hurt. I may not have kids of my own, but I care deeply about my nieces and nephews. I see them as part of my own heart, and I only want what is best for them. If I see Max and Sophie eating and smiling instead of sitting with their heads down and their stomachs empty, I feel like I have done something right. The last dinner we had, things came to a head. Everyone was sitting down, and I had made a big pasta dinner for the grown-ups and the non-picky kids. But for Max and Sophie, I had made red pasta with extra soft noodles and fruit salad on the side. They were laughing and chatting with their cousins, eating happily. It was a beautiful moment, but Leela looked upset. After dinner, when everyone was relaxing in the living room, she pulled me aside. Her voice was low but firm. "You are not listening to me," she said. "You keep feeding them like this and they will never change. They will never try new foods if you keep making them what they want. You are making it worse." I took a deep breath and looked her in the eyes. "Leela," I said, "I hear you, I really do. But this is my house, and I will not let any child go hungry here. If Max and Sophie were adults and told me they did not like a certain food, I would respect that. Why would I treat them differently just because they are kids?" She shook her head, frustrated. "You are not a parent," she said. "You do not understand how hard it is. They need to learn." "I understand they are children," I replied softly, "and I understand that they are happier and healthier when they eat. That is all I am trying to do." That night after she left, I sat alone for a while. I thought about what she said. I thought about her feelings and her goals as a mom, but I also thought about Max and Sophie, how their faces lit up when they saw the food they liked, how they joined in conversations when they were not distracted by hunger. I love my sister. I respect her as a parent. But I also believe in being kind, especially to children. That is why the next morning I sent her a message. It was short and simple. I will feed your kids what they will eat as long as they are guests in my home. If that bothers you, you have the choice not to come. I did not say it with anger. I said it with love. Because sometimes love means standing firm on what you believe is right. After I sent that message to Leela, I waited. I knew she would read it. She always checked her phone early in the morning, even before her kids were awake. What I did not know was how she would feel after reading it. I was not trying to push her away. I only wanted her to understand that my house was a place of comfort, not struggle. That morning passed quietly, no messages, no calls. I busied myself cleaning the kitchen and folding laundry, but I kept looking at my phone. By lunchtime, I gave up waiting and went for a walk. There is a park nearby with a small lake and benches under big shady trees. I sat on one of the benches and watched a pair of ducks swim in circles. The breeze was soft and kids were playing on the swings nearby. I kept thinking about Max and Sophie. It broke my heart that eating had become a daily challenge for them. Every meal felt like a test, and I was not sure how much of that they understood or how much they simply felt. All I knew was when they were at my house, they smiled. They sat at the table with everyone else and laughed and talked like any other child, no pressure, no sadness, just dinner and family. I knew that Leela wanted the best for her children. She wanted them to grow strong and healthy. But I think she believed that strength only came through strict rules. I believed it came from feeling safe and supported. Later that evening, Leela finally replied, "We will still come. But I'm not okay with how you are handling things." That was all she wrote. It was not a thank you, and it was not a fight either. It was something in between. A truce, maybe, or just a moment of quiet in a storm that had not passed. The next family dinner was just a week away. This time I wanted to make something special. Not just for Max and Sophie, but for everyone. I planned the menu with care. I made sure to include a main dish that most adults would enjoy, herbed roasted chicken with mashed potatoes and green beans. For the kids, I made baked mini chicken sliders with a side of soft noodles and steamed carrots. For Max and Sophie, I chose red pasta again. They always lit up when they saw it. I also made a small fruit salad with bananas, strawberries, and seedless grapes, foods they both liked. That day, I set the table with a little extra effort. I placed name cards, folded cloth napkins, and even lit 2 gentle candles in the middle. It felt cozy, not fancy, just enough to say, "This meal matters, you matter." When Leela arrived with the kids, she looked tired. Her shoulders were a little slumped and there were small circles under her eyes. I knew she was carrying a lot. 4 kids, a job, a home, so many responsibilities. I greeted her warmly and helped the kids with their jackets. The children ran inside quickly, already laughing and teasing one another. Max and Sophie peeked at the food and smiled. Leela pulled me aside quietly. "I just want them to be normal eaters," she said. Her voice was soft but full of pain. "I am not trying to be cruel." I nodded. "I know, Leela, I really do, but maybe we need to stop thinking of it as something that needs to be fixed." She looked confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. I thought for a moment, then said, "What if picky eating is not something broken? What if it is just part of who they are right now? Not forever, but right now. What if we just love them through it?" She did not answer, but she did not walk away either. I continued, "In my house they eat, they laugh, they are happy. That means something. I am not teaching them to avoid food. I am teaching them that they are safe here." Leela closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them again, there was a soft shine, like she might cry but did not want to. "I am just so tired," she whispered. "Every meal is a battle. Every day I feel like I am failing." I reached out and put a hand on her shoulder. "You are not failing," I said. "You are doing your best, and you do not have to do it all alone." We stood there for a few seconds. Not as younger and older siblings, not as a non-parent and a parent, just as 2 people who cared deeply about the same children. Then I said, "Come on, dinner is getting cold." We went to the table together. Everyone had taken their seats. The kids were already talking about a school project and who could build the tallest Lego tower. Max was scooping pasta onto his plate. Sophie was carefully arranging her fruit salad into little color rows. I watched them and smiled. Halfway through the meal, something unexpected happened. Max looked at his mom and said, "This is my favorite pasta. Uncle makes it the best." Sophie nodded with a mouth full of fruit. Leela gave a small smile. Just a tiny curve of her lips, but it was there. And then something even more surprising happened. One of the other kids, Leela's youngest, who usually ate everything, reached over and grabbed a forkful of Max's red pasta. "This is good," he said. "Why do you not make this, Mom?" Leela laughed, a real light laugh. "I do not know," she said. "Maybe Uncle has a secret recipe." Everyone giggled, and just like that, the mood shifted. After dinner, while the kids were playing with blocks in the living room, I walked into the kitchen to clean up. A few minutes later, Leela joined me. She grabbed a dish towel and started drying the plates. "I still do not love the idea," she said, "but I get it now, at least a little." "That is all I wanted," I said. She looked around at the quiet house filled with happy noise. "They are happy here. That matters more than I thought." We finished cleaning in silence, but it was a good silence, a peaceful one. That night, after everyone had left, I sat alone on the couch with a cup of tea. I replayed the day in my mind, every small moment. I felt hope. Maybe Leela and I would not always agree, but maybe we could meet in the middle. Just maybe love would guide us through. As the days went by, I noticed a small shift. It was not loud or obvious, but it was there, like the way the air slowly changes when spring begins to peek through winter. Leela still brought her kids to the dinners, but she stopped commenting on what I served Max and Sophie. She no longer gave me that tired look when she saw their special meals. She did not praise it either, but the silence felt softer than before. One evening, while I was grocery shopping, I ran into Max and Sophie at the store with their dad. They were in the snack aisle, talking excitedly about fruit cups and crackers. I walked over to say hello, and as I turned the corner, I heard Max say something that made my heart feel full. "Uncle makes red pasta better than anyone," he said proudly. Sophie added, "and his grapes are always sweet, not mushy." I smiled and said hello, and they ran up to hug me. Their dad, who is a quiet man, gave me a small nod and said, "They talk about your dinners all the time." That meant more to me than I could explain. I was not trying to win any medals. I just wanted the kids to feel at home with me. I wanted them to know that their needs were seen, that they mattered. At the next dinner, I decided to try something new. It was not a big change, just a small step. I made red pasta like always, but I added a tiny twist. I chopped up some cooked zucchini into very small pieces and mixed it into the sauce. It melted right in and barely changed the taste. I knew there was a risk. Max and Sophie were good at noticing changes, but I figured it was worth a try. Dinner was going well. Everyone was enjoying their food. Max and Sophie were eating without a fuss. I kept watching them out of the corner of my eye. About halfway through the meal, Max looked down at his plate. "This tastes a little different," he said slowly. I felt a little nervous. Leela, sitting nearby, looked over too. Her face was unreadable. Sophie said, tilting her head, "It is a little greener." I took a deep breath. I did not want to lie. "I tried something new with the sauce," I said. "I added a little zucchini just to see what you thought." Max looked surprised. "Zucchini?" He put down his fork and stared at the food for a second. Then he picked it up again and kept eating. Sophie took another bite and shrugged. "It still tastes good." Leela said nothing. But she did not stop them. She did not step in or stop the meal. She just watched them eat. After dinner, as I was collecting plates, Leela followed me to the kitchen again. "You added zucchini?" she asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," I said. "I wanted to try something. I figured they were comfortable here, and maybe that comfort would help them try something new." She nodded slowly, and it worked. I nodded back. It did. She sighed, but it was not a frustrated sigh this time. It was the kind of sigh people make when they are thinking deeply. "I used to think letting them eat only safe foods was giving up," she said, "but maybe it is just part of the process." "It can be both," I said. "There is no perfect way. Just what works." That night, Leela helped me clean the dishes again. We worked side by side like we had done when we were kids. Back then, we used to fight over who got to dry and who had to wash. Now we were just two adults trying our best for the next generation. Later, while the kids played in the backyard, I sat down with Leela in the living room. We talked about school and work and the funny things her youngest had been doing lately. Then we got quiet for a moment. "Thank you," she said finally. I looked at her. "For what?" "For not giving up on them," she said. "For not giving up on me either," I smiled. "I never would." She shook her head with a smile of her own. "You always were the stubborn one," I laughed. "Maybe. But I am stubborn for the right reasons." That was one of the best family dinners we had in a long time, not because of the food or the clean kitchen or even the zucchini. It was because something had shifted between Leela and me. We were no longer standing on opposite sides. We were standing next to each other. And more importantly, Max and Sophie had taken a step too. A tiny, brave, green step. From that point on, I began adding small new things to their meals. Never too much, never a surprise, and always with honesty. Sometimes they noticed and picked it out. Sometimes they tried it and said nothing. And once Max even said, "This tastes funny, but I kind of like it." That was a moment I held onto like a treasure. The rest of the family noticed the changes too. My cousin Jenna, who has 2 young kids of her own, once pulled me aside and said, "You are really good with them, patient, kind." I shrugged. "I just try to give them what I would have wanted as a kid." She nodded. "Well, it shows." At the next dinner, I made a new dish, mini chicken and veggie quesadillas. I offered Max and Sophie a small slice along with their usual pasta. They took one bite, then finished the slice without saying a word. Progress, small steps, big hearts, and a seat at the table for everyone. It had been almost a year since I started regularly hosting family dinners. Looking back, I could see how far we had come, not just Max and Sophie, but all of us. What had started as a quiet disagreement between siblings had turned into something better, a bridge between two different ideas, built with understanding and care. Our dinners were no longer moments of tension. They had become something everyone looked forward to. The kids would start asking about dinner days before it happened. "Are we going to Uncle's house this weekend? Will he make the red pasta? Can we help set the table?" Even Leela, who once arrived with a frown and left with frustration, now came with a calm smile and even brought dessert sometimes. The change was not fast, but it was real. It came from both of us learning to see each other's hearts, not just each other's choices. One afternoon, I received a phone call from Leela. She sounded excited. "I was wondering," she began, "how would you feel about doing a joint dinner, you and me, together in the kitchen?" I was surprised, but in a good way. "That sounds great," I said. "What did you have in mind?" "Well," she said, "Max has been talking about trying something new. Sophie too, I think they trust the kitchen more now. Maybe we can try a build-your-own taco night. I can help prep and the kids can make their own plates." I smiled into the phone. "That's a great idea." "Really?" she asked. "You do not think it is too much?" "I think it is just right." That Saturday, we cooked together for the first time in years. It was like old times, only better. Leela chopped the vegetables while I cooked the meat. The kids helped set out small bowls of cheese, lettuce, beans, and soft tortillas. Everyone had something to do, and there was laughter everywhere. Max stood next to me and whispered, "I'm going to put one green thing on mine." Sophie, who was making her plate nearby, added, "Me too." But only a little. Leela and I exchanged a look across the kitchen. It was the look of shared pride, not pride in ourselves, but in them, in their courage, in their growth. Dinner that night was full of joy. The kids shared silly stories, the adults joked around, and no one was left out. Every plate was different and every belly was full. Even the picky eaters who once left the table hungry were now walking away with smiles and full stomachs. Later, after everyone had gone home and the house was quiet again, I sat down at the table alone. The plates were empty, but the room felt full, full of love, full of effort, full of the kind of peace that only comes after a long journey together. I thought about what home really meant. It was not just walls and a roof, it was not just the food on the table. Home was where people felt seen, where they could be themselves and still be loved, where children did not have to earn their place at the table by changing who they were. Leela had started to understand that too. She had not given up on her hopes for Max and Sophie. She still wanted them to grow and try new things. But now she did it with patience, with kindness, with grace, and me. I had learned that sometimes the best way to change a mind is not with words, but with actions, not with arguments, but with quiet, steady love. A few weeks later, I received a card in the mail. It had a simple drawing on the front, 2 hands holding a warm bowl of food. Inside was a short note written in Leela's handwriting. "Thank you for feeding them with love. You taught me more than you know." Tears filled my eyes as I closed the card. This story is not one of heroes or villains. It is not about who is right or wrong. It is about people who love each other, trying their best to care for children in a world that often expects perfection. It is about offering kindness even when it is hard. It is about choosing connection over control. It is about keeping a seat open at the table, no matter what. And most of all, it is about remembering that the way to someone's heart might just be through a plate of red pasta and a lot of patience.